Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I imagine you're probably new here because of the way that YouTube works now. If you'd like to consider hitting that subscribe button, seeing the content I produce and see if you enjoy it, I would appreciate that. In this video, which is a little different to my normal videos, I'm normally a motorcycle content creator. As you can see, I'm messy bench. I'm in the middle of a bike rebuild series. But I realised that I promised to make a review on the Dremel 4300 a year after I first got it, and I'm actually quite late on that. It's actually been 16 months. I did it in October 2019. At the point of filming this, it is February 2021. For full clarity, Dremel did send me this tool to do a review on, and it was a completely honest review where I said anything I wanted to say. And if you want to see that video, it will be linked at the end of the video and in the description if you're interested to see my full review on this. But this is the, as I say, the year on, 16 month on video. Now, the reason Dremel sent me this is because they saw my review of the TackLife rotary tool you can buy on Amazon compared to the Dremel 3000. Now, I'd had some problems with my Dremel 3000, and for what you got in the kit with this versus the 3000, I was like, you know, this is a good tool, and this thing still works. But I'll get on to why if you want something like this, I wouldn't go for this in that instance. The lead was just a nice extra. I've got a review on that as well. Basically, the TackLife ones, they're okay. They're not as powerful. They're definitely not as powerful. And they don't last as well. The one thing I'll point out straight away is the fact that after 16 months use and hard use, there is a small little bit of rock in the bearings there. But it's not really a problem. It doesn't make it, you know, unbalanced or anything. It feels fine. The one with the TackLife is all over the shop. I can't get them out because I've actually wedged them in there. I had to use foil tape and things to get the bearings to reseat because they got so hot they melted the seats and then they became loose, and this kept falling out, which meant that the drive was lost. And yeah, okay for very light use. If you're going to use it for any great extended amount of time, I'd use something like this. I have used it on so many different jobs, including doing a full bike rebuild where this became invaluable for helping clean things, get to cutting little bolts and stuff. That's something else I can say is another tool that I reviewed by Dremel is the little handheld light. This is a great handy little tool for small, hard to get to jobs and things. If you want to just keep this in the house and just, you know, little tiny jobs. If there's any extended use, use a corded one. And if you need a lot of torque for like cutting through bolts, stainless bolts, you're going to need something like this. It's got a lot more torque. I've used this tool a lot, and my review, sort of pros and cons, is this. There are no cons because nothing has gone wrong with it and nothing has broken. It is performing exactly as it first arrived. In fact, in a way, it's performing better because I did actually have a couple of issues where it was a little bit jumpy between speeds on the controller. Well, that just went away over time. I guess something smoothed out. Maybe there was a little bit of something stuck in there. I don't know, but that went away. And it's been an absolutely fantastic tool that I honestly say would be one of those tools that you can't do without. A rotary tool, that is. I mean, if you want to buy a different brand or whatever, that's up to you. I don't, you know, I've got no money in this. I'm just giving my honest review. So as I say, my original review is very in detail. Too much detail for most people, but that's the way I review things. I do a lot of detail and I make sure I use the tool and I give you an honest answer. You know, many of the Dremel reviews that you see, you just don't feel very trusting of them. That's kind of why I chose to do this. I hope from the content I already produce, because I'm also a motorcycle reviewer, people can see that I have an honest approach to the way I do things, because I think there is far more long-term value in that because you keep hold of your audience, because obviously if you tell someone a lie about a tool, they're never going to want to hear from you again. If you give them good information, they'll come back, and that's the way that I work things. So yeah, that's basically my review. I'm now going to give you a few tips on things that I learnt through using this tool. My number one tip is, if you use lots of different tools, is to get one of these sorting type boxes, you know, so you can put your different size sanding drums, your wire brushes, clean ones, ones that have been used, grinding stones and stuff like that. You've got tools and collets and all your bits in here, cutting discs. It's nicely organised. You can take stuff out, put it in, you know. And then in the lower section, I have, you know, more of the polishing bits, diamond cutting wheels, lots of arbors, because you'll get through these like crazy, die grinders. If you're ever doing work with mild steel and die grinders, my God, I feel sorry for you. I've done a lot of it. So a box like that to help you sort everything is invaluable to me. Now, obviously, Please excuse the slight liquid spill. It is now being sorted out. Right, let's get on. As I say, one of these sorting boxes is invaluable. The bits that you buy, you'll find that you can buy Dremel ones, which are very expensive, or you can buy eBay, Amazon ones, which are very cheap, and you get hundreds. Like the sanding discs, you buy them from Dremel, very expensive. Buy them from Amazon, you can buy, or eBay, you buy bags of them for a few pounds. Having used both, I can tell you this, the Dremel sanding drums are better and last longer than the cheap ones. However, these are so much cheaper, I'm quite happy to just change these more regularly. I don't think that'll necessarily be a surprise to you, because that kind of makes sense. So yeah, sanding drums is something that I particularly use a lot of, and wire wheels for like cleaning up bolts and stuff as you're taking a bike apart, getting to hard to reach places. Having a choice of steel, brass, and the nylon brushes. These nylon ones are awesome for cleaning stuff you don't want to scratch. Having a selection of those, absolutely great. Oh, by the way, these sanding drums, you don't want to run these too fast, but they do need to be run at a reasonable speed. I know it's hard to quantify, but as I say, you can kind of feel it, and you'll also notice if you do them way too fast, they'll just break up very quickly, and you have a risk of them undoing themselves and flying off and hitting you. You know, unless you, well, as long as you've got eye protection on, you're not going to get badly hurt. The wire brushes you want to run very slowly. If you run them really fast, all that's going to happen is you're going to cause all of these little pieces of wire to break off in a few moments, and they're going to spray everywhere, and you'll get them in your hands, they'll get in your clothes, and 3 weeks later you'll get pricked by something. Wire brushes are amazing, and I use them a lot, but they're also a bit of a pain. But using them on a slower speed does equal less loss of bristles, and they last a bit longer. The Dremel sanding drum holders, again, they last longer than the cheap eBay ones, but if you verse costs and quantity and just changing them occasionally, these actually work. The Chinese ones work out perfectly fine, I've found. And as for the cutting discs, I strongly advise getting the quick disconnect fibre discs, these ones, like this. The grinding type discs, these have a real habit of exploding. These little very thin slitting discs, now these are very autofocus. These are very handy for getting very thin cuts through things, but you'll use a lot of them to get through a screw, well, depending on the bolts, we say. But also, they have a habit of shattering. Now, they're very light, so they're not going to have a lot of mass behind them, but still, it's something to be aware of. As I say, these quick disconnect discs, I rate those. And the Dremel ones, they last a good while, so I think the extra cost is worth it. For polishing, I do find that these little felt discs are absolutely fantastic. They don't last all that long necessarily. I wish there was a better method of attaching them to an arbor rather than just the little screw that goes into the felt. I'm sure you could work some way of doing that with washers and an arbor for straight mounting things. And also, as I mentioned, the die grinders, which can be great for taking down welds, smoothing out metal. If you're doing sculpture in metal, it can help you blend between two things. It's a very handy tool, but as I say, be warned, because you're going to get covered in little bits. I could go on and on, but I won't. Let's leave it there. So my year-on, 16-month review is that basically I had no issues with this at all in the time, and I can actually see a quality difference between this and the TackLife, clearly. There is also a performance difference. This has more power and is just more capable of doing more laborious jobs. Cutting screws and things is much faster this because it's just got so much more torque. You seem to transmit more power through this this lead opposed to the other one, which seems to twist a lot and you seem to lose a lot. And also, as I say, this is much nicer to hold, but also it's in a much better condition 16 months on, considering the use it's had. Well, there we go. I hope that was short and sweet and gives you the answers you're after from someone who's actually used the tool for a long while. Obviously, this is a case sample of one, and other people may have had problems with theirs. Dremel sell a lot of tools, so there's always going to be someone who's had an issue. But I can only talk from my experience, but my experience so far with this has been very good and are clearly a step above some of the competitors who are making cheaper machines. If you don't do as much with it, the cheaper machines can be absolutely fine. But if you're going to do a reasonable amount of work, invest in your craft and get something a bit better. Thank you for watching. Smash that like button if you can, and I'll see you in the next one if you choose to subscribe. Thanks to my patrons. Bye bye.